Hello, I'm going to attempt to give you a crash course in the introduction to analysis services to get you guys started for the early access program. So I've gone ahead and installed everything we need, and I'm going to assume it's working. And I'm just going to walk you through a few basic operations within the user interface. So I've navigated to our analytics applications console, and the one icon I have available is analysis services. So I'm going to jump right into our user interface. So opening that up, by default, it's going to take me and show me a list of the providers that have been set up. And as we can see in my environment, I've just got one provider for Mathcad. And this is what allows ThingWorx to talk to the Mathcad application. Um, what you'll find as we go through our application, I'll take a minute just to talk about this, is the layout of our pages are very similar right now. We've got, on the left, kind of the major objects you can work with: providers, models, jobs, events, and some settings. And then you'll have either a listing page, which is where you start from and you have most of your actions. And then if you want to dive in further, you'll have detail pages that will be able to show you details, in this case, details about my Mathcad provider, how it was set up, any description, settings used, which models are there for the Mathcad provider. In this case, I've got a number of models already set up, so I can work with those. And if I want to return back to just a listing of providers, because I'm working in the provider section right now, there's return to listing. The application works that way wherever you're working. So I've got my Mathcad provider already set up. When you start, you'll get that set up for yourself. It's a pretty simple process. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to models. I've got a number of Mathcad models already in place. I'm going to create a new one. I've got a very simple file here. We'll assume my file is good and actually works. And when I'm setting up a new analysis model, pick the provider, in my case Mathcad, pick the file. So I've got a simple addition demo. I'm going to upload that. That upload process right there is actually going to create my model name based off the file. If I want to add a description, I can. And it's also based on what I have selected down here, auto-generating my data shapes. So this is going to go inspect my Mathcad file, look for the input area, the output area, and create data shapes based on that, so I can map data from the Thing model into the actual calculation that will be done. So I will save that. And that should actually create me my model here. Okay, now that I've uploaded my model, we can see it here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it. And it's a very simple information page. It's just going to show me what are the options I selected, the name of the model, any description, information, what model file is actually going to be used, and the name of my data shapes. I can also inspect further by looking at the data shapes that got auto-created for me. In this case, reading my file, I've got a first input, a second input. I can select on those and read a little bit more details of their numbers, default values. And then I've also got my result data shape, which is going to have one output here as well. So very simple. It created everything. And if you actually opened up this Mathcad file and looked at it, as we have in the documentation, you would see there's input areas defined and output areas defined. And those are what the system uses to actually inspect the file and determine what to be the data shapes. Now that I've got that uploaded, we also have a simple way to go ahead and test your model. So in my case, I can go ahead and see that by default, I've got a first input, second input, 8 and 2. And I can add that row here. And if I want to add more, I can. So if I want to do multiple calculations, for example, do 1 8 plus 2, 1 8 plus 4, because this is really a simple Mathcad worksheet. And once I have that set up with how many times I want to submit, I can submit the job. It's actually going to push the job, and over on the agent side where things are running, it's going to run and actually process and do the calculations for me. So in this case, I've got some issues going on with my Mathcad worksheet because I thought I had everything configured correctly. but hopefully in yours you won't have the same problems I have. Instead of 8 plus 2 being 10, I'm getting a much different number. So that's a quick way just to show you how to submit the jobs, test it, so you can make sure you've got your Mathcad sheet deployed correctly, you can access it, and you can see the results. So that's a quick summary of how easy it is to take a Mathcad worksheet, create the model, create the data shapes, and have it available and actually be able to test it. From there, you can go further by configuring different events that occur to actually trigger the calculation. And that will allow you to pick from the thing model that you have defined, whether your source is going to be a thing. I'm not sure what I have set up in this environment. And then you can map to the model. So let's map to the model that you want to be fired off by an event off that thing. And in my case, I don't have any right here. So I'll take a look at some of the ones that are already set up. For example, this simple addition one we'd set up earlier. When it comes up, it's going to kick off the addition model based on any data change from this source thing called addition. And you can see how it maps in the input data shapes, how these numbers get mapped in to the actual inputs, and the results get written back and mapped to the output on the addition object. So you can set up those events, and you're able to use your thing model, use the events to trigger calculations. If you want to drive the calculation straight from a mashup, take a look at our documentation. There's a little bit of instructions there on how you can wrap those events and services and put those services onto a mashup. So that's my quick introduction to get you guys started. Sorry it took so long, but hopefully this will get you guys going, and as a quick demonstration you can refer back to look at how you deploy your models. Good luck.